only the moon to guide us, sometimes we lose our way. That's the next line from that great song from Sting that we've choreographed to this beautiful nation and to our great people. The next line, with the light inside us, we will find a brighter day. That really is why we're here today. The light inside us, we will look for a brighter day. As Paul outlined, we've been on a journey. For some of us, it's been 15 years, 20 years. There's a new chapter. And today we're going to explore that new chapter. Shall we? We've got to take a step backwards first. Some of you may know who these two characters are. Get a load of those ties, by the way. Yeah. Isn't that cool? These were two inventors. They had an idea. It wasn't about a test. It wasn't about the scoring machine, which you see there. It was the why they built it. The why they built it was because they believed that when people acquired knowledge and learned, they should have the opportunity to express that knowledge through a career. They should be having the opportunity to pursue education in a different way. In fact, E.F. Lindquist, the one on the left, as the story goes, folklore, he was so angry with the board that he was serving on because he felt that that particular testing organization was excluding people from the opportunity to learn and grow. So he took it upon himself, along with a group of colleagues, and he embraced a new way of learning, a new way of growing. And he went across the nation with those colleagues, and that became the ACT. 53 years later, here we stand, and we're talking about another new venture, and that's called Skilling Up America's Workforce. It's a pretty amazing story. There are other amazing stories just like that. Let's talk about the evolution of music. There was this guy named Sony, and he said, I want to walk around and hear music. He loved to walk. So he said, I can't use the ghetto blaster, right? The boom box, walk around with that on my ear. Can you guys down in the design shop create something for me? And they did. Hence, portable music came to our world. But somebody took that idea and took it a bit further. And what they said was, maybe we can do it differently. So when we look at that device, the iPod, and I use one every morning when I'm on a treadmill or running or whatever it is that I do for physical activity, and we say that, is it the device itself or is it the science behind it, the why behind it? Let me suggest to you it's the why behind it. Somebody, and it wasn't Al Gore, invented the internet, right? Somebody said we can do or make portable information, including portable music. And some of those creative people out there said, in fact, what we're going to do is we're going to swipe music. Remember Napster? I remember my kids doing Napster, and I was wondering if it was illegal or not. I couldn't quite figure that out, and I couldn't quite figure out why or how it even worked. And then somebody got the bright idea to say, well, maybe we can monetize this. And maybe we can bring to people something that they really want and need. iTunes. And somebody really got the bright idea to connect them all together. You see, there have been great inventors in our country. And we talk about, as Paul did, Microsoft. Was it Bill Gates or was it Paul Allen who had the great ideas? Was it Bill Gates who was just smart enough to figure out what the right ones were? Was it Steve Jobs or was it Steve Wozniak? You ever watched Wozniak lately, running around on those Segways? That's the way he gets around and transports himself. He had all these wild ideas, but Jobs had the right mind to say, what is the right thing? And he married these things together. That is essentially what we do. We as a family, we as a group, we as partners are marrying great ideas. And ACT is blessed to be able to take our toolkit our solutions and our science and embed it into some of these great ideas that are out in the marketplace today. And we're going to share some of those with you over the course of the next 3 days. I'm going to share a couple of ideas with you right now. Today, we got a problem. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the problem. I'm going to spend the time on the solution. We have enormous pain in America today, but we've kind of condensed that pain down to a couple of key areas. Let's talk about employers for a moment and the individuals that we serve. Employers are dramatically underserved today. If you listen to the language of employers, and fortunately I've been able to work often with employers in the last year and a half, we hear, I can't get people to show up on time. I need people with critical thinking skills. I need people who can solve problems. I need people who can work in teams. That's the language they use. Unfortunately, as the pipeline is being filled with talent, that's not the language that the folks use that fill that talent and train on that talent pipeline. There's this gross disconnect. And the individuals, what system exists today to help them guide their learning, to help them guide their career paths? The fact is, both of those groups are underserved. And we have to do something about that. So what we've done is we've taken a step back and said, really, what is the problem? Here's a chart that dates back to 2006, where it demonstrates that 88 million Americans do not have the training, and does that equate to skills, to do middle skills or greater work. 88 million Americans. Folks, I got news for you. That number has not changed. In fact, it's growing. We have about 140 million people in America working today, and you've got 88 million people that fall into a classification of not properly trained. What this is saying is that we do not have people trained with education beyond high school. And that gulf of unskilled, that gulf of untrained is getting larger. The pipeline that serves it is not serving it well. So I propose to you that we need to do something different. I think we know that. I also propose to you that maybe within those 88 million people, they actually do have some skills. How would we know? How do we know that? Is there a system that exists in America today that enables us to identify whether they do or not? Is there a system that exists in America today that says, here's what's necessary to be successful at work? Because ultimately, isn't that what people want? To be successful at work? To have a good job? Tomorrow evening, we have the pleasure of having Jim Clifton with us, CEO of Gallup. Jim is the author of The Coming Jobs War. I'm going to read a quote to you. After 6 years into the global collection effort, we, meaning Gallup, may already have the single most searing, clarifying, helpful, world-altering fact. What the whole world wants is a good job. Think about it. It's true. So if that's our target, and we have key milestones along the way of the continuum of learning, we should be pointing people and helping people and guiding people to this ultimate goal, a good job. It's really that simple. So how are we going to do that? How is ACT going to contribute to this? Well, we're going to take a little bit of a shift. You're going to hear some news today about that shift. But let me start with one very fundamental shift. Do you recognize that box? It's kind of an odd-looking box. It could be a Rubik's Cube. It's loaded with icons. All right, I'm going to tell you what that is. It's a new way of thinking. Traditionally, ACT has come forward with our workforce toolkit. And we said, here's the applied math, and we splatter the web pages, and we give you our training all about the technical elements and aspects of work keys. or a particular discipline. And that's great, and it's grand, and it works. But we want to look at this a little bit differently. That's what this is about. These are icons that symbolize each of those cognitive abilities. So the 9 icons that you see in the center, not the ones on the right-hand side, the right-hand side are our personal skills, are what's available inside of ACT's Work Keys portfolio today as measures of specific cognitive abilities. But let's imagine for a moment that we do things a little bit different. Today, one of the things we do different is we take those top 3 icons, applied math, reading, locating information, and we marry it with one of our behavioral skills. Today we call it talent. Tomorrow we're going to change it and call it personality because we think that is a more appropriate name. And we create a certificate called NCRC+. It's a measure not only of a person's ability cognitively to do work or be prepared for work, but also behaviorally. So let's go a step further. What would happen if we started doing configuration of these cognitive abilities? And we took, as an example, applied math and locating and observation skills. That skill, by the way, we're seeing that in our job profile system as becoming increasingly popular. And what would happen if we did that and created a critical thinking skills certificate? Isn't that the language that employers want? Let's break the language barrier and start talking in terms that employers can relate to. And in fact, when an individual shows up for work and somebody says, I want someone with critical thinking skills, how does an individual even know what that means? So how can we make that work? Let's look at other configurations. What would happen if we took teamwork, behavioral, and teamwork cognitive and married those together and created a teamwork skills certificate? And what would happen if we took writing, speaking, personality, observation, and created a communication skills certificate? It's all possible if we just put our minds to it. We actually have the foundation to do this. What would happen if we added 3 more cognitive abilities? Science, data, and speaking. Aren't those essential skills that people need to demonstrate? Absolutely. So as we move forward, what we're going to see is some technology come to bear. Not just ours, but other partners. If you've been paying attention to what's happening in terms of the badging, well, Mozilla, through their great foundation, has created the notion of badging. And this is catching fire across America. I want to read another quote from you from Mozilla that gives you an idea of just who they are and what they're doing. Mozilla is a global nonprofit, like ACT, dedicated to making the web better. Emphasizing principle over profit, their belief is the web is a shared resource to be cared for and not a commodity to be sold. I love that. So what they're doing is they're enabling the web and enabling people to identify their skills with evidence-based credentials and create a badge. And the badge actually goes into what they call a backpack. And that backpack is transportable. And you can pull the badge out of the backpack and transfer that to an employer to demonstrate that you, in fact, have the skills. And with our configurable notion and the ability to marry that with these types of demonstrations of skills, now we're enabling people, individuals, to demonstrate that, yes, in fact, I do have the skills. I have acquired knowledge. I can do this work. It also helps inform the employer to make a good decision, a good hiring decision. So inside of that Rubik's Cube, that box that we showed, there's a little gem. And it's really ACT's gift to America. Remember, ACT is a not-for-profit public trust. We have a compelling reason, based on how we are structured, to do something great and different for this nation. And you may not be aware that we have provided a gift for the last 20 years. That gift is the job profile system. Now, when the great scientists at ACT created this program, they started with the foundation that people have the ability to learn. But there had to be a target in mind, and that target in mind was the job. So what we did is we centered our attention on the job. And we went out into the marketplace, and you saw the slide that Paul showed that had 275 profilers, and we began doing task analysis on jobs because we wanted to learn about what was essential to be successful at the job. And so we created the job profile system. And that system is embedded inside of the entire WorkKey system. And the heart and soul of it is the job profile, which we make public on our website. We know more about work than anybody on earth. And guess what? We're going to learn more. So here's what we're going to do with that job profile. We're going to overlay across that system behavioral skills. We've been doing that for the past 4 years since we introduced the behavioral skills portfolio, because we know it's essential, as I mentioned earlier, for the employer to make a good decision, for the individual to know who they are, to get a composite of what they know and what they don't know about themselves, including the behavioral side. And what we're also going to do is we're going to connect and articulate what's necessary to do work back to curriculum. In fact, we've done that already, and that was the nucleus or the genesis of the Right Skills Now program. So Paul mentioned that I was fortunate enough to do work with our partners at the NAM, the Manufacturing Institute, and work with our Jobs Council, the President's appointed Jobs Council, led by Jeff Immelt, on a program called Right Skills Now. And frankly, sitting in a restaurant with our partners, NAM, and with a napkin, candidly, we sketched out a program. And the program was essentially this. What would happen if we went in, did a job profile in a given marketplace, and did an articulation of that profile back to the curriculum which was being taught for that specific job? So we went to Minneapolis, Minnesota. In Minneapolis, Minnesota is a company called Permac. Darlene Miller is the owner. You'll have an opportunity to meet Darlene as she presents the Right Skills Now panel this week. Darlene is on the Jobs Council. She has a thriving business in advanced manufacturing, but she has a major issue. She cannot hire CNC operators, computer numeric controlled operators for machining. It's a skilled job. So we went to our friends in Minneapolis at the Department of Labor, and we did an analysis of how many jobs existed that were open or would be open in the greater Minnesota area, Minneapolis area. And we discovered there were over 2,500 jobs for CNC operators that paid $75,000 a year that are open and would be open over the course of the next 3 years, with no one to fill those jobs. Imagine that. So we went to the two colleges that were training, Dunwoody Technical and South Central. And we asked, how many students are coming through your program for CNC operators? 24 a year. 2,500 jobs, 24 people coming through the program. So we went to work. And we said, can we accelerate learning through this program? Can we deploy the principles of lean and accelerate learning, eliminate the waste? Because life happens with people. They can't sit for 2.5 years to earn a degree program in CNC operation, but they can acquire the skills that are necessary to operate on a shop floor and earn a great living. And that's exactly what we did. So we took folks on the front end of the program, gave them the National Career Readiness Certificate to see if they were ready for training, and they were, put them through the training program, accelerated the learning, got them through the program in 16 weeks, onto the shop floor with an internship, and now we have a stream of supply coming through to fill the need in the Minneapolis market. Darlene's going to share that with you. But we also have a special guest here this morning, Ryan Costella. Ryan works in Nevada. Through his partnership with the National Association of Manufacturers, and he and I served together on committees and boards with the NAM, he learned about the program and said, I want to deploy this in the state of Nevada. So here to join us is Ryan Costella. Ryan.
I serve as the Director of Strategic Initiatives at ClickBond Incorporated, and we make mechanical fasteners for the aerospace industry in Carson City, Nevada. We employ about 350 people, and we're growing, and we also have a desperate need for machine operators. And Nevada, we're kind of at the top of all the bad lists and the bottom of all the good lists, but the nice part is you'll meet a lot of people from Nevada here, and we're really turning the ship around, so it's exciting. But through our work, ClickBond, one of our owners, serves on the board of the National Association of Manufacturers and has been very passionate about the skilled workforce issue. And when we heard Darlene and the Manufacturing Institute actually present Right Skills Now back in October, we said, this is something that our state needs, and it's something our state can do. And so what we were able to do was, within the manufacturing community, confirm that there was a need for machine operators. And most manufacturers just nod their heads like, yes. We have giant signs out in front of our plants that say we need these people. And additionally, we have an aging workforce. Most of the machine operators in Nevada, I think the average age is close to 60 now. So we're going to have a huge wave of retirements, and we're going to have to replace these folks. Our workforce system, headed by Frank Woodbeck, is fabulous. They've been partners with us, and they came to the table basically saying, look, we want to set up this fast-track program. We want to use ACT tools to screen people in and see if they're able to even be trained. And then we want to partner with the community colleges and run them through a 16-week course that is certified to the National Institute of Metalworking Skills credentials. And in a very similar fashion, in mid-February, we were able to take a bunch of people off of unemployment, screen them with the National Career Readiness Certificate. They had to pass an interview and a drug test, and then they entered this 16-week program. I think by the end of this month, they'll be entering an 8-week on-the-job internship that's paid, again, aligned with the curriculum, the same curriculum that folks deployed in Minnesota. And then they'll be finishing by mid-June and hopefully placed in jobs. And I mean, it was just a real great example of taking a model that was built correctly and deploying it elsewhere. And so we look forward to going into more detail tomorrow, and we certainly appreciate ACT's leadership in making it possible.
Yeah, and thank you, Ryan, very much for leading that. Here's some happy faces of the first graduating class at Dunwoody Technical. So, the gift. Guess what? We got scores. So we know what the skill level is of America's workforce. Got a lot of work to do in that area. We also know that there's labor market information out there. It tells us where the jobs are, what jobs are growing, what industries exist, how skills transfer from one job to another, from one industry to another, to help create career pathways for people. It's essential. And those career pathways and the data that comes with those career pathways helps inform this credentialing system that enables people to have access and choices and further education and further training so they can achieve that ultimate goal, a good job. And what we're doing is we're taking that data and we're beginning to populate that on a nationwide map. We have an initiative underway. It's actually 4 states that have an initiative underway, and ACT is contributing. It's called Certified Work-Ready Communities. Those 4 states have stepped up and said, we want to do something different. We want to skill up our state on a county-by-county basis, but we need to be informed, and we need ACT at the table to help us inform. How well is our county, how well is our school district, how well is our economic region performing? And so they use as their measurement the ACT tools. You'll have an opportunity to learn more about that Thursday when the Honorable Sonny Perdue comes as our keynote at lunch, and he and John Whitmore will have a dialogue about this program, and we'll open up the floor for questions for the governor about what his state, when he was governor in Georgia, did, and the impact that had in a positive way to attract employers, to grow employment in that great state of Georgia. It's a great program. We're excited about it, and we're glad to be participating in it. For great employers in the Illinois market. These employers have said, no more. We're going to stop the screaming. We're going to stop saying we can't find good people, and we're going to do something about it. In fact, they've banded together as a coalition, as we are seeing quite often across America, and they've marched down to Springfield to the governor and the legislators, and they've said, we need a pipeline for talent. We pay taxes. We expect the education system to perform for us. Please, listen to us. Help us build a pipeline for talent. The legislators in Illinois have heard that. They're now adding the third test, locating information, to the high school examination process. Therefore, the high school students who will be graduating in 2013 will be eligible for a National Career Readiness Certificate. And that's through the great work of employers like Bison Gear, like Burner, like Hofer, like Fabric Images. You'll have an opportunity to hear from this group this week about what they have done, what is working. It's a great case study. I'm honored this morning to have with us Steve Knievel. Steve is the Chief Executive for Burner Foods. And Steve is going to share with us some of the experiences that they've had recently in their shop.
A little bit about our company. Burner Foods is 130 miles away to the northwest of Chicago. You are in civilization here. We are on the edge of civilization. Our plant is surrounded by cornfields, soybean fields, and hay fields, and dairy farms. #1 dairy county, Stevenson County in the state. But that's where our little claim to fame is. My father started our business in 1943. My brother and I have tried to carry on his thoughts and his processes ever since. Next year will be our 70th year. We're pushing $80 million, $90 million, and we have about 300 employees, or we will have about 300 employees at the end of this year. We hope to add 40 jobs because we have new business coming on. We have had quite a journey, and it's been a real journey with WorkKeys. We began some 3 or 4 years ago trying to find out information because a group of concerned manufacturers in Northwest Illinois had similar problems. We couldn't find the right people for the jobs that we had, and we had high turnover rates, and it was just a revolving door phenomenon that we wanted to find some kind of resolution to. So without government funding, I'm really proud of this part, we were able to raise between us and other members of our community $25,000 to get our program started. We housed our testing and assessing at our local college at Highland Community College in Freeport, Illinois, and they held the Key Train software. Companies, students, anybody can go in there and use that and to upgrade their skills and be assessed. And the companies like us can also do that. So when we're going to start an initiative, what do you have to do? You have to get involved. You can't stand there and expect things to happen. So Burner Foods decided to be the champion for this, and we went out and we were going to live, breathe, eat, and die WorkKeys. So it was a slow process because just after we began this, what happened? We had the giant credit meltdown that really put a lot of things on the back burner, or slowed them down anyway. But it slowed us down a little bit, but we felt this was so important that we kept pushing with it. So we got some testing going, people that we were hiring in, especially for problems that we had in our quality area. We had a high turnover rate. We were able to get people in as fast as people turned over and tested them, and that turnover rate went from an embarrassing 20% down to 2% within about 6 to 8 months. And that showed us something that this really does work. And after that, you might have heard some of the famous phrases and taglines in the past of unintended consequences, game changer. You have to pass the bill to find out what's in it. And then just career paths and changing people's and workers' lives. And that's what we found out when we started testing the workforce that we had in place. We had to do it slowly because our resources at the college and our timing, we worked 24/7, 360 days a year. And I should tell you what we do. We make private label products such as Cheese Whiz, Easy Cheese in a can, beverages that are you're familiar with, latte, coffee latte like Starbucks makes and sells in the stores, the Frappuccinos, and you might see Monster or Rockstar in aluminum cans. We do that, a similar product like that too, but we're not producing those products. We're doing the private label in the store. So when you go to Walmart, when you go to Target, when you go to Aldi's, when you go to Save-A-Lot, if you're in California, you go to Safeway, you go to Publix in Florida, no matter where you go, all our products are sold in just about every neighborhood in the United States. And we also do a product called Shock Coffee that's high in caffeine. That goes to Kuwait, goes to Afghanistan, and Iraq. And so it's not the people that are drinking it, but it's the troops, because they do all their work at night and they want to stay awake. So back to where we were at, when we first started out, we started testing our own people. We wanted to find out, just what do we have out there. And so there's always unintended consequences. Usually that has a bad term associated with it. But in this case, what we found out was awesome. We had people out there that did have skills that we could use. They were just mismatched for the job. And so based on what we found out, little by little, people would come back with their scores, and sometimes we had to sit down because we couldn't associate the skills that these people tested at with the person that we knew. But the person was on the production line, and they were just going through the motions. They were just there filling the spot. And when we went to them and said, hey, do you think you can step up and do this other job that has these skills? And then, oh, by the way, it's a higher paying job. It didn't take long for that information to get around the plant. And Paul, my HR dude over here, had a line outside his door and wanted to know, where can we take that test? So we were on our way, and we knew we had something here that motivated people. And it was really fun and satisfying to see that as an employer, because we really are concerned about our community. So we kept on with that. It became a game changer. You saw people change on their outlook in their jobs, and they could see a career path. So we changed our own invention of our job force as having a career at Burner Foods. When you come to Burner Foods, you can see where you are on the map. You can find out what skills you need to get higher on the job list that we have that takes higher skills and higher pay. So we had many, many people in cases like that. So it was a real game changer for us to do this assessment and find out about our employees. And the one thing that I really am proud of is that it helps change people's and workers' lives. You have people that might have been there in the same job, just doing it because they have to be there, but because they found out that they had a skill or number of skills and they didn't know that, they were able to advance themselves. So we have much happier people. I hear it in the community, and that's one thing that we wanted our people to be able to do, be proud of their job, go home at night, talk to their family about what happened at work, and be happy about it, not whine about it. So we've seen that over and over again. Some of the other things that we were talking about that we're really getting into is testing people for teaming, testing people for observation. Observation in a production plant is very important because you have to be able to anticipate, know what's coming. If the line slows down or it needs to be speeded up, you need to observe. We have all kinds of machines that are working together and conveyors going everywhere to package things, and it's just, it takes a lot of observation, and we're especially interested in that test. It helps us find out who our leaders are in our company, helps us find out, on the production line, so we can find out who's going to be a good supervisor, who's going to be a good lead. So those are some of the things that we're using to find out more about our own workforce that comes to work every day. And like I said, the most satisfying thing is that we find and have found many employees where it has changed their lives and been a very beneficial thing for their families. Thank you.
I just want to soak that last line up for just a few seconds. Isn't that cool? Yeah. But what we're going to talk about here is some naming. Essentially what we're going to do is add those international icons to each of the cognitive abilities that we identified earlier, and we're going to take the name and make it quite simple. WorkKeys Math, WorkKeys Reading. You'll also notice across the bottom the new cognitive measures that we'll be adding into the portfolio over the course of the next 18 months. Science, data, and speaking. And again, the ability to configure will be essential here. Soft skills. We've learned over the last 4 years these are essential. Added with the cognitive abilities, soft skills, cognitive measures are excellent predictors of likelihood of success on a job. If we're getting our titles right, we're going to continue with fit and integrity. We're going to change the talent, which makes up the NCRC plus, to personality. We think that's more appropriate. Same assessment, same inventory, same characteristics, same indices, just changing the title. And of course, what that does is it manifests itself into certificates. And as we go farther or further, as we look over the horizon, we're going to see a new set of certificates available from ACT. Don't know the exact details, but what we're going to do is set up an advisory board and panel to help us make those decisions. But if we were to look further and deeper, we're contemplating how we might implement a supervisory certification, a managerial certification, executive, and all the way potentially up to governance. Because remember, at the heart and soul of the WorkKeys portfolio, the actual assessment itself, which is driven by the gift, the profile, is scalable. It doesn't just measure cognitive abilities, but it also scales them at different levels. And the ability to marry and make combinations for the right certificates, evidence-based certification, is essential in the employer workspace and essential for the individual to identify with an evidence-based portable certificate that they do, in fact, have the skills to do the job. Badges. So we take that Rubik's Cube And we pull those individual abilities and we create badges, just like the Honor Guard had. Eventually it becomes a ribbon, a certificate. And people can build their profile, build their portfolio, and they have a pathway of progression. So we intend to partner in that regard. Keytrain, was that phenomenal? 7.2 million experiences. I don't know how many seconds that we're doing a Keytrain curriculum, and we've only just begun with that. The good news, what we're going to be able to do sometime late this spring is marry the experience together for the individual. One interface. So when the individual comes in, perhaps they don't score to the level that they would like or need, and they need remediation. Remember, people have the ability to learn. We need to provide that opportunity for them. Do it in one single interface. That doesn't exist today. We're going to marry that together in the future. 2 years ago, with the help of Don Carsonson and Keith Bird, who are here today, we convened a panel of community college thought leaders in Florida. Those thought leaders gave us the ideas, and they gave us the impetus to do something different. And we came out with a white paper called Breaking New Ground. And with that, we said that there needs to be a national credentialing system. It included partners. There was a field-building agenda. That's what the certificate program is really about. Do you realize that today, WorkKeys in a certificate application is being used in 44 states across America? 37 states have recognized the National Career Readiness Certificate. Boy, have we come a long way. For those of you who have been with us and remember the early days, and I thank you. I thank you for having the idea to take WorkKeys, marry them together, create a certificate program. It works. We launched the Right Skills Now, or Skill Up Now campaign, which translated to Right Skills Now. We're codifying a common language. That's part of the reason why we're changing the titles on our WorkKeys assessments. And we believe there needs to be an open source platform. Perhaps Mozilla can create that, but ACT will contribute as well. So that movement took place 2 years ago, and then we convened the panel again this year. And they said, wow, we've made progress. We see the signs. Thank you very much. But we need to do something different. And ACT, what would happen if you created a partnership with all of your providers and administrators, and you provided assessments to employers who have not used this tool so they can have the same experience that Burner Foods is having? And we got this nation moving the right way to skill up America. Will you do it? Can you do it? We were challenged. So I'm pleased to bring to the podium today our CEO, John Whitmore.
Thank you, Martin. When I walked into this room today, there was so much energy, I thought maybe all of you had been drinking Burner Foods Shock coffee. But I recall last year was my first year at this event, and the dedication of you folks and your passion for helping change this major shortage and gap in America was real palpable to me, and I appreciate your efforts a lot. And your presence this morning convinces me of your commitment to invest time, energy, and innovation in making America's workforce better. That's what it's all about. And I recognize and value how working in the trenches gives you a front row seat to this challenge. We have formidable challenges, I know, but America does not need to relinquish its status as home to the world's most highly skilled workforce. We can build on America's proud history by confronting the well-documented skills gap that now threatens the vitality of American businesses and the future of the American worker. This morning, I'm pleased to unveil a new initiative that demonstrates ACT's commitment to confronting workforce challenges on a national scale. Tomorrow's Workforce Now. This gift to the nation will enable thousands of employers and tens of thousands of individuals to experience a proven, evidence-based workplace solution. It will generate data that will be used to pinpoint deficiencies in the nation's talent pipeline. Tomorrow's Workforce Now will build organizational capacity to help our communities create and compete for high-quality jobs and careers. ACT is uniquely positioned to offer a solution. We propose that competing in the 21st century requires a dynamic means of measuring an individual's skills and aligning them to the responsibility of tomorrow's jobs. And ACT does not stand alone in this belief. Quote, better alignment of employer needs with contemporary education and training is critical to ensuring a more competitive workforce. That's the view of Dr. Walter Bumpus, President and CEO of the American Association of Community Colleges. He goes on to say community colleges are essential to creating the kind of alignment we're talking about. So in a recent exchange with Dr. Bumpus, he commended ACT for investing in this progress for assessment innovation, and he committed to supporting this new effort to better engage employers and better prepare students and workers through the community colleges. Partners like community colleges make ACT more optimistic about success. And your role, those of you in the room today, is essential. With your energy, assistance, and commitment, we can ignite a national movement and establish a national workplace credentialing system that benefits everyone. So tomorrow's Workforce Now truly is an exciting opportunity, and I'm pleased to extend this invitation to all of you to join in. And I know Martin will, and throughout the event, tell you more about this important thing. So thanks for the honor of me being able to stand up here and share with you this really exciting project.
Thank you, John. Thank you. So, we got employers all across America that don't know what WorkKeys is or have experienced it. But those who have, love it. So what we're going to do is make available to clusters of employers in economic regions linked to either workforce board partnerships or our community college partnerships, we're going to make available the test for free. Our partners will administrate that for us. We will gather the data points, and we're going to skill up America. Isn't that cool? The details on how that works, how the employers can apply, who they work with in their partnerships, will be unveiled at our 9:15 session, which will follow. All right? We'll have a website posted. I believe it looks like this, tomorrow's Workforce Now. Applications begin on May 1. It is a 2-year program. So applications will be accepted between May 1st and the end of this year. Employers will have the opportunity to engage and deploy through the end of 2013. It's a multi-million-dollar gift. It impacts thousands of employers, and most importantly, tens of thousands of individuals. So they can enjoy what Steve highlighted in his presentation. I'm pleased to announce Des Moines Area Community College is on board. West Virginia Community and Technical System, Kirkwood, Salt Lake City Community College, the Louisiana Community College and Technical System under the guidance of Joe May, the Ivy Tech System with Tom Snyder, Macomb, Jim Jacobs has endorsed this, Chattanooga State in Tennessee, just to name a few. You heard from Walter Bumpus via John's presentation. The California Community College System, 112 colleges, 79 districts, representing 2.9 million student population, will be using Workmates for their outreach to employers. Is that cool? Here's our national canvas today. We have 4 work-ready states, operational. They're not ready yet, but they're moving. What would happen if our nation started looking like this? We do not need to relinquish our status in the world as the home of the greatest workforce on earth. Thank you very much for being here. Let's have a great week.